My name is Anthony Radford, and this is my psychology presentation. So, before I start, let me ask all of you, do you listen to music? Probably. What about while you're at school? What about doing schoolwork? If you answered yes to listening to music in general, it's very likely that the answer is also yes to listening elsewhere. I ask this because of the fact that music is a part of our daily lives, whether you realize it or not. In the car, you probably listen to music. On the ride home, if you take the bus, you likely also listen to music. However, have you ever considered the possible ways that music affects us physically? This question is the basis for my topic, and I'm going to show you why that is. First off, how many of you play sports? Now, how many of you do physically stressful things around the house, like clean your room or help your parents with gardening or anything like that? Now, when you do something physically exerting, like running, walking, biking, or anything else, do you listen to music? And if so, what kind? This brings me to my project. To begin, I will start with my project question. And that is, does listening to different types of music cause a change in muscle strength? Over the course of this project, I picked up a total of 11 students that go to CB West School and asked them to hold up a 15-pound backpack. I told them that they would hold it up a total of 3 times with their arm held straight out while they were listening to music. The subjects were to drop the backpack as soon as they felt that they could not hold the bag anymore. The 2 types of music subjects were listened to are rock music and classical music, and a third test would also be conducted with no music playing. I'll now play an excerpt of the rock song to give you an idea as to what type of music was being listened to. And now I will play an excerpt of the classical song. My hypothesis for this project is that people would be able to hold the backpack up for longer if they were listening to the rock music, the second longest amount of time for the classical music, and the least amount of time for no music. The reasoning for this was because I believe that music would stimulate your muscles. To support my reasoning behind why I think that music would be better than no music, I'll refer to an article from the website called Scientific American, which says, with a direct quote, that for some athletes and for many people who run, jog, cycle, lift weights, and otherwise exercise, music is not superfluous, which means that you need it. It is essential to peak performance and a satisfying workout. To further support this, in 2007, the USA Track and Field Association banned the use of portable music players to prevent racers from having a competitive edge. This ban has since been altered to only apply to races where there is a sort of reward at the end. As such, this article is part of the background information as to why my hypothesis is what it is. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's look at the statistics that my tests have provided me with and see if my hypothesis was correct. There was a very wide margin of how long each person could hold up the backpack. For example, the longest time held in regards to rock music is 54 seconds, while the longest for classical music is 1 minute and 12 seconds. And finally, the longest for no music whatsoever was 1 minute and 20 seconds. It's worth mentioning that these numbers are all from one person, while the lowest number for rock music is 6 seconds, the lowest number for classical music, and none, is both 3. Again, these numbers are from the same person. However, overall, the total time that the backpack was held up for rock music was 286 seconds, or 4 minutes and 46 seconds if you want to count by minutes. While the total time for classic was 272 seconds, or 4 minutes and 32 seconds, which is 14 seconds away from the rock music. And the total for no music was 246 seconds, which is 4 minutes and 6 seconds, which is a little bit different than the other two. This leads me to believe that my hypothesis was correct, if only slightly, as rock music has a slight lead. Now, with every project that requires humans to be used for testing, there are bound to be issues. Reflecting back on my statistics, and from general remarks I was told during testing, there are quite a few possible issues. Number one being that different people have different muscle strengths. Somebody in the class could be able to easily lift 120 pounds, for example, while one person can only be able to lift 40. This issue is very clear on my tests, because if you reflect back to how the longest time is 1 minute and 20 for no music for one person, but 3 seconds for another person for no music, it just shows the difference. Another issue is that I tested one person for all 3 types of music in the span of 5 minutes. This means that a person's strength can deteriorate over time because they didn't get any rests, which means that this skews the result in favor of whatever type of music that was played first. Finally, another issue that I noticed myself is simply motivation. To explain, 3 or 4 of the people I tested seriously attempted the test, and as a result scored high, or at least 30 seconds, but the majority of the people I tested simply gave up after 10 to 15